Well, welcome to another episode of The Minority Voice, and I'm here again with Jeff Mentag, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. You know, I'm bad at names, and but anyways, that
Thanks
being
for
said,
having me.
yeah, yes, it's great. And today we're going to touch on the Second Amendment because, you know, in order to secure the First Amendment, I think the founding fathers said, okay, how do we make sure that these get established? And I think they said, okay, the thing we have to do is put together the Second Amendment. So you want to go ahead and read that, and let's kind of start from there.
It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Not anything I've earned, but thank you. So the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. And here's what it says. A well-regulated militia being necessary. I want you all to catch that. Being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people, to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. My.
Nice.
To keep and bear arms.
That's right. We're prepared, folks.
Yes.
We're prepared. We got our, as Tony Montana would say, my little friend, right? David?
Yeah.
Either what he said, you're a film guy, right?
Yeah,
He said that.
It wasn't a pistol, but yeah, that's what he said.
That was
That's
a
right,
nice-
he had a big ring. But you know what? So let me start off by saying this. This Second Amendment, well, let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 27 words, I think if I counted that right. 27 words to get a point across. Our founding fathers, they were geniuses, man.
They
They
sure
didn't
were.
need, 2,000 pages
That's right.
or something. They just one. So go ahead, start.
A couple of sentences, a couple of words. Simple, but very profound in its intent and in its meaning. I think that in order to understand why they were able to say things so succinctly and in such specific and short phrases is because when you start to reading why they did what they did in the Federalist Papers, the arguments for and against the ratification of the Constitution and the amendments, you start to discover the lengthy arguments over a period of years that it took them to come to that very specific language. There's broad intent behind those few words of that Second Amendment.
Yeah, and it first starts off, and this right in the beginning says a well-regulated militia. Now, most people misinterpret that, and they think that it's got to be the what do we have in Michigan? The National Guard.
National Guard.
And that's not the case.
The left will go so far as to say, well, that was talking about the military, and you can't have guns, and you don't need an AK-47 to hunt, and all these other things, and it was for the military. Well, I don't see anywhere in here where it says guns.
Doesn't.
It doesn't even say weapons. It says keep and bear arms. Machete, sword, axe. You joked with me earlier in the week about having a cannon. You say, it's not illegal. I think I'll do a video and shoot off a cannon in my front yard. Blanks, people, blanks, okay? On Facebook, just to prove the point. But it's a very important point. To keep and to bear arms. I'm big on language, and I'm big on commas and emphasis and on what we would call the cadence of the speech, the inflection points in the speech, the commas. They all mean things. They're all put there for a certain reason. Let's look at it again. A well-regulated militia. We'll get to that. And then it says, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state. Now let's go back and think about the Declaration of Independence, what it says in there in order to, we the people, it says, right? And here it says, the people's right shall not be infringed, right? So it's the same set of people that they're talking about. But in that Declaration of Independence, it also says, to secure our liberty. Yeah. Same language is used here. security of a free state.
You know, and I gotta wonder if these were all godly men, okay? And when it says being necessary to the security of a free state, Luke in chapter 11, it says, a strong man keepeth his house, but when a stronger one cometh, he comes and taketh his goods.
Yeah.
So I think our founding fathers realized that, hey, you know what? We have to be prepared because there is going to come a time when you're going to need to defend your free state.
You have to think about what they were thinking, what they had in mind, what they had experienced. And we hear a lot from the left about, the whole racism and systematic racism and white privilege and all these things. That's for another discussion. But the notion is that what has been done to certain Americans, what was done to the Indians, you hear this kind of talk a lot. And so therefore what we have to do today because of what was done. And when we look at this Second Amendment and this Constitution in light of what was done to those men who wrote it, what did they leave? They left tyranny. They left the state religion. They left the controlling of their speech. They left the controlling of their assembly. They left a place where they didn't have the rights like this to keep and bear arms. Okay? They left a place where in 1747 they had a war, a civil war there themselves. And they came here and then they they garrisoned troops among them and came in their houses and raped and pillaged and burned their homes during the Revolutionary War. So when this is penned, it's penned in light of what was done and what they had experienced and ensuring that it never happened again. And so we have to look at where we are today.
And when you look at this, that next statement, and keep in mind, this is one continuous flow.
Yes.
It says, the rights of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Two things I want to look at here, and I want your thoughts on. First of all, the rights. Mm-hmm. It didn't say the rights of the militants or the state, but it said the people. And then second, the very last word, with 2 words, 3 words, shall not be infringed. The word infringed. So let's talk about the rights and then infringed.
I think that we have to make a distinction in everything that is said. When we're doing a study, when we're doing a conference, we're having a conversation. But when we're doing a study and we want to articulate to the people on this podcast, watching this podcast, and thank you for watching, we have to make the distinction. It says a well-regulated militia, but they purposely separate militia from the people. Just like the National Guard you mentioned earlier, the National Guard is not all the people. It's only some of the people, but it's from among the people. Sure. And in Federalist 29, they elaborate on this comprehensively, and they write regarding the militia. And when they talk about this, they make the same distinction between the militia and the people. And your note, your observation, the astute observation you made, that it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms. It does not say the right of the militia. Every militiaman came from among the people, but every one of the people was not a militiaman. But it was incumbent upon all of them to be prepared, to be ready, to have the right to keep and bear arms, so as, when necessary, to become a part of the militia. I think you told me earlier that buying property in South Carolina, that in their very constitution, it says right in there that all persons who are part of that state are a part of the militia.
Yep, the unorganized militia.
The unorganized militia.
So, and get off track here a little bit, but I heard the state senator who says if the federal government decides to crack down on any kind of limitations on the Second Amendment, it doesn't apply to South Carolina because we're all part of the militia, and every weapon that is legal in South Carolina as of that date will be legal if the government puts any restrictions down. So and that would take us to the 10th Amendment, but that's a whole other thing. But let's talk about, as we wind down here, when it talks about shall not be infringed. What does that
shall not
mean?
be infringed. You know, the idea in the scripture where it says, every transgression is a breaking of the law. And the word transgression in the original language means every stepping over the line. This idea is found here where it says, shall not be infringed. You shall not even come close. You shall not even put your, you know, in the NFL, if the football simply breaks the plane of the goal line, it's a touchdown. That's the idea here. You can't even break the plane. You can't even begin to violate that right. But I think that what you said earlier, really quickly, can I touch on it? In Federalist 29, when you said the unorganized militia, meaning the whole of the people, not the actual well-regulated militia, but the whole of the people being the unorganized militia. The same is true everywhere. And in Federalist 29, some argued for and against the militia and the Second Amendment. But here's what they said. It said the idea that the militia can endanger liberty is outrageously and far-fetched. Where are our fears to end if we cannot trust our sons, brothers, neighbors, and fellow citizens? What danger can there be from men who daily mingle with the rest of us and share our opinions and interests, particularly when the states have the exclusive power to appoint their officers, a reality that should at once extinguish it? After all, this right of appointment assures the states permanent control over the militia. Think about that. They were opposed to a standing army, so the notion that weapons were only for the army. They were in favor of a militia, but they were in favor of everybody keeping and bearing arms because they understood that that militia came from among the people who mingled together, brothers, sons, daughters, and people. And I submit to you, as you said a little while ago, that if the federal government ever wants to get too oppressive, there's 300 million Americans and 600 million guns. I don't think it's going to actually happen that way if it comes down to it.
Nope, that's a fact. So, and that being said, let me say this too as we close. Whether you agree with us or disagree with us, you know, it doesn't really matter. The founding fathers said, okay, if at any time you decide you don't like the Second Amendment, we're going to give you a means to get rid of this.
Yes.
And so if you want to get rid of the Second Amendment, there's a way to do it. The founding fathers put that in place. So instead of trying to do any kind of gun restrictions and passing laws, you know, amend the Second Amendment. Real simple process. They laid it all out. So that being said, until we meet next time, Joshua 24:15.